All right, and let's go ahead and import it. So hit spacebar here, bitmap from new resource. Oh, I'm sorry, not from resource, bitmap from file. Okay. Gator skin. Let's import it. Hopefully this is better than the octopus skin. That should replace it. All right, it's kind of black and white, so I'll want to tune it. So let's go to filters. And I think the color node is going to do it for us. Nope, that is not going to do it for us. There's another one I was working with. Difference, dissolve, exclusion, glow grayscale, height, hard light, height map, invert grayscale. Make it tile. Well, I can definitely use that. Let's go. Multiply noise scale. Overlay. I mean, there are a lot of filters in here. The one I'm looking for, though, I wonder if we can just do it through here. Shouldn't be able to. We need the utility node. Auto levels. That's what I'm looking for. Let's see if this one will do it. There we go. Awesome. All right, so we don't need, well, we do need this one. So let's go ahead and take that and connect it here, connect it here. So now we're tiling this across the surface. There we go. And I'll be honest, this is still a relatively new tool for me. Even though I've been using it for a couple months or a few months now, it's still a relatively new tool. And I'm still learning things every time I jump in here. So I mean, I don't know how many substance classes you see out there, but it's a relatively new tool for everybody. I mean, I was fortunate that I had a little bit of a jump start from the guys at Logarithmic coming down to Los Angeles Film School, and showing us a couple things and how best to work with it. But even so, it's not a simple program. It's a very robust one. So let's see. I want to boost my blues. That's a bit much. Let's shift a little green into my blue. And let's the green, actually, I think it's getting too saturated. So let's actually bring everything down. So what I want to play with is the balance of color. I want to just keep on adding. It's getting a little dark. And then let's go ahead and blur this a little too. So, looking for a color blur. There we go, blur, high quality or anisotropic blur. We'll try this one here. because I want to break up the tiling, the kind of tiliness of it. And I'm doing this just to kind of feed you guys ideas that you can daisy chain all these effects together. The only thing is that when you start having a lot of nodes to work with, it starts getting a little convoluted. So let's go ahead and just collapse our outputs here. Let's go into our blur. Our blur is a little strong. So let's see what we have here. Let's just give it a very slight blur. And then let's layer some noise in on top of that. And the way that these work is it's hierarchical, right? So we have the first thing we have our texture that we start with. Then we have the tile effect. Then we have our color adjustments. Then we have the blur after that, right? So if I were to stack these differently, like if I were to have the blur first, the color second, and the tile last, it would look very different. I would get different results. All right, last thing I want to throw in here, maybe a blend. Let's go ahead and try this out. I haven't actually tried this one out. Foreground, background, and mask. Cool. So let's make this our foreground. Put this into our base color. And let me zoom out a little bit because my tree is getting a little large. It's not as nice as Nuke. If you guys have worked in Nuke, the node-based interface isn't as nice as far as like it's a little bit more difficult to organize, but it's very similar to what you experience in Unreal, and it's a little better than what's in Maya. All right, so foreground and background. So background, I want a noise. Let's go ahead and go with cells 2. There we are. We'll want to tile that. So I can see if I can duplicate this. So let's duplicate this guy. Delete there. Drag in here. And drag over here. There we are. So now we're starting to layer effects together, right? If we look, we're starting to get something a little cooler than what we had before. I don't know if I necessarily need both those nodes. I guess I do. If it's giving to me, I probably need it. Mask, I don't want mask, or I don't want anything to be occluded. So I am going to go ahead and do a solid color, uniform color. Let's drag into here. And let's change that to grayscale instead of color. And so we get a nice blend. Don't know if this is going to work. I think I might actually need a shape. As in I need an alpha channel in there. So I don't see anything happening on the surface there. Yeah, well, there we go. Actually, if we change it to RGBA, There we go, it's accepting it now. Let's try doing this, because I don't think we need that. If I do this, go grayscale, there we go. It's a little finicky, but I knew I could figure it out. All right, let's go to the cell tiling. And let's go ahead and drop another little blur on that. That's our color adjustment. Let's duplicate this. So, I mean, I can make these materials very, very complex. I mean, you could spend a long time just putting these together and playing with them. It's just a matter of what sort of time investment you can make on it, right? That blur is a little too much. There we go. All right, so now I also want to drive this into the roughness. Let's see how that looks. I want this to be slime, so I want it to be extremely shiny. I think the blend of the two isn't going to work in the roughness, so I'm just going to go ahead and drop this one output here into the roughness instead. That's feeling a little bit better. Not quite there though. So check this out. So I have, let me move some things out of the way so it doesn't look quite as messy. Let's pull this out here. The whole trick to node-based interfaces is organization. Right, so I'm going to keep these guys together. Let's do a little house cleaning here. Keep those guys together, and this guy is just going to kind of drop in down here. I'll drop my normal map. Let's go ahead and bring it up here. All right, so I start building a hierarchy. There's that chain leading into that. That's a direct input. This is a direct input. That's a direct input. All right, so I want this to be brighter. I want it to be shinier. So I'm going to go ahead and use the same color adjustment node that I used here, the channel mixer, and let's duplicate that. There's our duplicate. Let's unlink that. And then let's drop it in the path between this guy and our BPR there. So let's delete here. And let's just boost our color like crazy until we get some cool effects. That should be turning gray. Shouldn't be getting color at all. And it doesn't look like it's affecting things the way that it should. Am I adjusting the wrong one? I most certainly am. That's why. I'm adjusting this one. And by the way, the more complicated you make your trees, I guess I'll have to readjust all these color values now. Now it just made it incredibly dark. I'm breaking it. All right, so I want to adjust this guy. Because I want him to be nice and shiny. This is slime after all. It's actually not too bad. It's kind of a black slime. But I can actually bring in my color map. There's my texture. Oh, that's what happened there. Awesome. Crash. Beautiful. All right. So I got a little crazy in there. But I think you guys get what I'm after, right? I don't want to beat a dead horse. But I did want to feed you guys some ideas.